Hi everybody, I am Ildiko Pali. I'm a residential real estate broker, owner of Princeton Real Estate. We are located in 1375 Sutter Street, Suite 323 in San Francisco. And today I'm going to talk about real estate asset protection. I will talk about the foreclosures in 2014, what happened in San Francisco. I'm going to talk about the 5 cycles of the real estate market in San Francisco, and I will talk about real estate asset protection. Again, I'm on a mission to help homeowners to remember the cycles and remember what happened in this big recession, what we just came out about 2 years ago, 2012. And we started the recovery cycle, the housing recovery. All of the things you see here, this is related only to San Francisco, because the Bay Area, every city different, their cycles, and the Bay Area is completely different. But I am talking about San Francisco. So 2012, we started the recovery, and many people, even in many, was asking me, so what does this mean? What happened to the foreclosure and the short sale market? Is this stopped completely in 2014 because of the recovery, because the prices are going up so high? And my short answer is definitely not. It didn't stop. And it didn't stop even in this part, you know. I started 1996 helping homeowners, and you could see the cycle were going up, and we had 58% depreciation, and there were always foreclosures there. The only thing changed right now is the foreclosure climate change in San Francisco. Instead of a lot of short sales, first of all, it slowed down. It cooled off a little bit, and I give you some foreclosure statistics to understand. The notice of defaults, when the people start to become or walking into foreclosure, in 2012 they received 1,500 homeowners received notice of default from the lender. That means 1,500 people started, went into foreclosure. 2013, it dropped 60%. 60% dropped down to 581. And then 2014, up to August, it's dropped down to 386, another 13.5%. And the interesting thing what happened in the foreclosure market, in this era, in the big recession, all we saw in foreclosures are short sales, short sales, short sales. And the short sale means the property value was lower than the loan on the property. The homeowners didn't have any equities, they lost all their equities, and then the lenders were losing also. So it's changed a little bit already from 2012 to 2014. Now we are seeing homeowners with equity in foreclosure. Unfortunately, they still a lot of people, as you can see, going into foreclosures. And I encouraging you look at the statistics and follow also if you cannot see this far. But also we still have homeowners that they don't have equity, and we have to do short sales. We are working on in Larkin Street in Russian Hill, we have a short sale transaction, and this is absolutely an incredible, it's a crazy situation where this property is, you probably know Russian Hill is one of the best area in San Francisco, and this is a BMR unit, which is below market unit. And the city mayor's office, basically they are the one who's setting the price. So this gentleman went into foreclosure and want to sell the property through us. And we find out the city appraised this property $340,000, while the market, if this would be a regular transaction and it would be out in the market, the property value would be $700,000. So you can imagine that the Citibank, who has the loan on this property, and they sold it to Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae is the investor. They don't want to accept, they didn't accept the short sales. We are still negotiating, because if this property going to foreclosure, they cannot sell it for more than 340, because the city law, the mayor's office would not let this property go for more than what they think. They want to keep it in the below market unit. So this is a very interesting situation. We are negotiating. This is a conflict between the city of San Francisco and Fannie Mae and City Mortgage. Okay, so very interesting. We will see. It's not closed yet. We are going back and forth, and we will see the outcome. The owner just entered into foreclosure. The notice of default was filed 2 days ago. Then we have another short sale transaction. It's not a short sale, it's a foreclosure transaction. A couple of units in Coal Valley, which is a very nice neighborhood in San Francisco. And I helped the owner 2007 to stop the foreclosure. It was an older lady, 92 years old, and I helped her a day before the foreclosure sale. I had to even go to the president of Bank of America, because they had no idea that they're foreclosing on a 92 years old woman. So I was able to negotiate a loan modification for her, and the interest rate for 1%. But this 1%, she passed away, and the interest rate went up to 3%. And the people who inherited this property, they couldn't make the payment, and the property is in foreclosure. But they have some equity. So our challenge, Princeton Real Estate challenge, is to sell this property before the short sale, before the bank taking over this property. And you know, my question is, and all of us question is, why many homeowners, they going back over and over again into foreclosure? I saw this since 1995, that some people were in foreclosure here, and I saw them again in 2000. You know, the same people, I helped them here, I had to help them here. And the answer is because they are not in touch with reality. They don't understand the real estate cycle, and they think that the real estate prices are always going up and up and up and up, and they can just keep refinancing or keep using the money what they have in their property, or they don't have a stable job, or something happens in their life. But most of the time I find that most of the people they're not in touch with reality, and they don't understand the real estate cycle. And this is why last year I decided that I want to help people, because I don't want to see this happen again, you know. And somehow people have to wake up, you know, and they understand how far they can go and bid on these properties. So that's why I started the real estate asset protection website. And this is why I was so happy when many asked me to talk about real estate protection, because finally I able to put my thoughts together, that what is really the message I want to send out, and how can we at our team at Princeton Real Estate can help out the world and educate the homeowners, you know, when to buy and when to sell and how much they can buy, and keep them in reality. So the most important thing that I really want to teach people is to understand this cycle, know exactly where they are personally, where we are in the cycle, and learn from their past mistakes so they would not repeating it over and over again. So now the big question is that what did I personally, as an investor and homeowner and also a realtor, learn in the last five cycles in San Francisco? I definitely learned a lot. You could see this is like 40 years being in real estate. I entered the real estate market in 1973. I emigrated to this country in 1970 with $10 in my pocket. And but I was lucky because the best man in my wedding was a very nice older Hungarian American gentleman who owned about 20 real estate companies in around the Bay Area called Sex Real Estate. And he told me that, Ildiko, you are an engineer. If you want to put your roots down in this country, you have to buy real estate. And he also told me that you are an engineer, you guys are young, you have to buy the worst property in the best neighborhood, and don't buy a single family home right now since you don't have any children. You can buy a couple of units and then you fix it up, and then when you have the family, then you can buy the single family home. And I don't know how much I understood about this because I came from a communist country. I didn't even know what real estate means and ownership meant, but somehow subconsciously I got it because we started saving our money. And I remember by 1973 we saved $3,500 together, and we started looking to purchase property. And we find one in the marina in San Francisco. We find a 3-unit building. It was run down, and the asking price was $70,000. We bought it for $70,000. We put down 5%, and the seller carried 95% of the loan. Then we fixed it up, and then the market went up a little bit, and then we get some money out, and we bought some other properties, and we fixed it up. So 1973, I entered in the real estate market as a first-time home buyer. Had no idea about real estate cycles, but now when I'm looking back, I said, wow, this is absolutely great, because I entered into real buying properties when it was recession, the beginning of 1970. And around 1974, it started to going up and up and up, and there was a huge inflation by end of 1970, end of 1970, and in this time, 1976, I still barely spoke English. I was working as an engineer. And we were buying these properties and signing all these contracts, and I didn't understand what we were signing. So I decided that I have to go to school, and real estate school, and learn real estate. So I received my real estate license in 1976. I was still working as an engineer, and I was buying properties and helping and selling real estate for other people. So we really had fun here in this 1970s, the end of 1970s, because the inflation was so high, property values went up, and I thought we cannot do wrong. I mean, we just buy, and then we just buy, and we can, everybody was buying and selling in this time. But of course, everything ends. All the good things ends, and 1981 came. And I never forget, I was sitting in a Century 21 office in Daly City with 10 escrows. I was really hot. I was really a top-producing agent. And 1981 came, the interest rate went up to 18%, and I lost all of the escrows. None of my buyers were able to qualify for 18% interest rate. So we had to be very creative. And this is the wonderful things I love about real estate. You have to be creative. You have to be creative when the values are going up, because you have to compete. You have to be creative when you are in recession, because you have to, usually in recessions, the buyers having hard time to get loans. So in this time, 1981 to 1983, 1984, I was learning lease option to purchase, because there was no way that the buyers could qualify for the loan, but they wanted to buy the property. The sellers wanted to sell. So we were doing a lot of lease option to purchase. The market was so stagnant that I decided I go back to school, I get my real estate broker's license, 1982. And 1983, I opened my first Century 21 Dynasty office here in Daly City. And then all of a sudden, 1984, recession is loosening up, and we are entering into recovery. I had a fantastic time in the 80s. I was going in and out of classes. I was going to seminars. I was learning pyramiding. I was learning exchanges, real estate exchanges. And so many of my clients and investors were pyramiding. The idea about pyramiding was that don't keep a lot of equity in your property. You have to, when the property value going up, you take some equity out and you buy another piece of property. In this time, in this period, the investors were buying for appreciation and also for tax advantages, tax write-offs. So what this really means, pyramiding means, let's say you have a $500,000 home, you have $200,000 equity in this home, and the appreciation for that year is 10%, so you're appreciating $50,000. If you take $100,000 out of the 500 and you buy another $500,000 home, then now you have $1 million to $500,000 home and appreciating 10%, that's like $100,000. So you are actually doubling your equity very fast. The problem is that we are human beings and we never know when to end the good things while it's going. You know, and it's very hard to know when the cycle ends. When will when we going to hit the top? But of course, like anything else, 1989 came. That was an earthquake in San Francisco that shook up the Bay Area. But beside the earthquake, 1990, 1992, they had, many remembers, the savings and loan crisis. And that was really devastating the financial industry. The property value, you could see that from 1994 to 1990, the property value went up to 97%. And then from 1990 to 1994, the recession hit, and the values went down to 12%. And some areas, I remember, that was much higher than 12%. For instance, in Daly City, it was 25% it went down. And you remember the pyramiding when we were talking about that the goal was not to have a lot of equity in your property. Well, those properties, you know, when the property value were going down and people had to sell, they couldn't pay off their loans. So they were underwater. They were upside down. And this is the time when I had to learn foreclosures and short sales very fast, because a lot of my clients were in this situation, and unfortunately myself too. I remember that 1995, I actually completed successfully my first short sale transaction, and on my own property that I owned with my partners here in Daly City. And it was a very, very painful process, and a very painful learning, because, you know, while I was taking all these seminars, nobody was here teaching realtors or clients or investors what to do if something goes wrong. If the recession comes, and if you know, they receive the notice of default. Luckily, I was very lucky, because I was working a lot in this part of the 80s with American Savings and Loan, and as you know, the American Savings and Loans were in crisis too. So they were teaching me how to work with them, how to negotiate with the bank. After I came out of this disaster, 1995, and I completed my first short sale transaction, I promised to God that I'm going to help other people in foreclosure. And from that moment on, I put a system together, and I send out to every single person who received a notice of default in 6 counties in the Bay Area. And even though my business, only less than 20% of my business was coming from foreclosure, and more than 50% of my overhead I spend to reach out to people. My CP and even many said, well, this is really crazy, Ildiko, why are you doing it? Well, I was doing it because I believed in that somebody has to be out there and somebody has to help, and somebody has to teach people about foreclosure. But then look at what happened after 1994. That was, again, a huge, big recovery, and people were buying and people were selling, and we had the property value went up over 105%. But again, you know, like nothing gonna go forever. Here we are, we get to 2001. You know, this is the era, this is a very interesting part of the cycle when the internet came into and affecting businesses. And you remember the dot-comers and the young people, they get all this money and stock options, and they started to actually cashing in on stock options, and many of my clients actually, they were dot-comers. But then 2001 came, and the dot-com popped, and we had a little hiccup. We had a hiccup for about a year. And you remember 2001, September 11, in what happened in United States. So the whole country was in shock. But as you see, the real estate market dropped only 9% here, very little. And then, you know, the market started to going up. Now, 2001, I remember I had to do a presentation, BNI, Business Network International, and I decided I'm gonna do something different. I'm going to do the cycles and see, you know, at the time, I had only 3 cycles to go through, and my presentation was, you know, like a roller coaster. But you could see the market never really go back to the bottom where the other cycle was. It's always a little higher. So this time, you know, I find this graphic on the internet, and this basically is really explaining it much better than my old one did. But 2001, I started when I saw these values are going up, you know, like crazy, and buyers were bidding, and we entered into bidding war. And many of my clients, they were asking me, Ildiko, how much should I offer? And I was telling them, as much as you can afford safely. Please don't go above your ability. And this is the message also today for everybody. Don't go above your abilities, because time comes it could backfire. And you know, many of them, you know, of course, they didn't get the property, and they were kind of disappointed. But when the crash came, 2008, they came to me and they said, "Oh, thank God, Ildiko, that I didn't get this property, because I would be in the same situation." In this part, while the market was increasing up to 58%, I saw around 2006 that the foreclosures were more and more. You know, there are more and more notice of default were coming in through my computer. And 2007 was so much that I had to stop sending out all these letters to all over, you know, the 6 counties, because each letter costed me close to $2 to reaching out to homeowners in foreclosure, and it was so many thousands of them that I couldn't handle by myself. So what I did, since I already had a system, I started training realtors through the San Francisco Board of Realtors, and also title companies, and teaching them that, you know, teaching about short sales and foreclosures, because we don't learn this in school. We don't learn this when we're getting our licenses. We're learning it in life. And then also, beside teaching the realtors, I had to reach out and convince the owners of company, the real estate companies, to let the agent do short sales, Because before, in this part, they would not let realtors to do short sales. Most of the short sale transaction takes about 6 months to finish, and sometimes we get paid and sometimes we don't get paid because the lender doesn't accept the discounted payout. This is why Coldwell Banker and the big company would not let agent to do. But then came 2008, the big crash, real estate market crash. And basically in this part, from 2008 to 2012, foreclosures were dominating the real estate market. Real estate companies had to let their agent, and they had to learn how to do short sales and foreclosures, because otherwise they would have been completely out of business. And like again, nothing. And in this time we had short sales. It was I barely saw only a couple of homeowners with equity. Most of the people who went into foreclosures, they were all were under and upside down. And like anything else, something happened. So here we lost 27% of the value. Then, like for instance, 2000 or 1994. 2012, something happened in the economy. The unemployment rate went under 10% in California. Also, we didn't have enough inventory. And why we didn't have enough inventory? Because in this part, between 2008 and 2012, we had a lot of foreclosures and a lot of properties they went into trustee sale. Because the buyers, they didn't have the confidence. Only the savvy investors were able to take advantage of this market who had cash. And now they are the future billionaires because this was really a good time to invest in real estate if you had money. So the problem, so the lenders, they get their properties back. They call the REO property, and they were holding it back. They didn't put it back in the market. So this is why. In this, when we reached 2012, we didn't have enough inventory. The interest rate were still low, and so a lot of buyers started entering into real estate market and started competing with all cash buyers. So what happened? We started again our bidding war. And this is where we are right now, 2014. Any properties in San Francisco you put on the market in certain areas, in most of the areas, you get multiple offers, and buyers have to, if they are interested in the property, they have to overbid and go above the asking price. So this is where I want to stop, because we are in 2014, and when I would like us to go back and look at this 5 cycles. Have you seen any patterns here? What's happening? There are, I find 6 patterns. The first pattern is each cycle lasts for about a decade. Okay, so that means that and this is something I really learned, and I kept telling my clients when they said, "Should I buy now?" And I said, "If you can keep this property for 10 years, I can guarantee you will make money." Because the statistic shows that since 1936, the big recession, if you're able to hold a property for a decade, you would not, most of the time in average, you could make 5% on your money. So it never goes under 5%. So you would not lose if you can hold it for a decade. Of course, if you're not, then you have to sell in between. Then that's when the problem comes. So most of the cycles are in about a decade, and they each decade start with a recession. Okay, each decade starts with the recession, and each decade ends with a recovery. The recession most of the recession lasts between 2 to 4 years, and this is what I'm saying is very important to know, and this is what Manny and we want to work on to work out formulas for individuals, so to help them to when and how to invest in real estate. So 2 to 4 years recession, and 5 to 7 years is the recovery period. Except this dot-com market, this really messed up a little bit. It's we will see how this is going to be in the following decades, and each decade, each end of the decade, something happens. Something happens either in the politics, we enter in war or we're finishing a war, or something happens in our economy, auto industry crisis, savings and loan crisis, dot-com crisis, subprime lending crisis. Also, we have to pay attention what's happening around us and read the newspaper, because that's an indicator that might happen with the real estate market. And or some natural disaster like 1989 earthquake. Now, what happens in the middle of the decades here? Middle of the decades after the recession, we see a little. The recession is loosening up a little bit, and we see we feel some growth. And we feel it in the real. We get more buyers, we get more sellers. So we feel that something is changing, and then we go into recovery, and then all of a sudden the recovery is speeding up and create into a huge big bubble. And by end of the decades, something happens, politics, economy, and the bubble bursts, and then we back the back into recession. Now, overall, there is one more thing, the sixth thing, that each recovery surpasses the peak value of the previous cycle. So that means that the values keep going up and up. Here, you could buy property for $70,000. I bought properties in Bernal Heights for $40,000 in the 70s. In the 80s, we were going in higher. We were going into the hundreds, 100, 200, 300. Now here in the 94, 95, we were getting, we were moving up a little bit. And here we're talking about, millions. So, and now, of course, and I'm talking about San Francisco because Oakland is completely different. And very interesting, if going back to what's happening right now in the real estate market in San Francisco, we are already back where we were with the values in some areas with 2007. In Oakland, not yet, but almost. We are about, 80-90% up here. So it's you could see, and we are just 2 years into the to the recovery. So what I learned is that we really, we have to know these cycles, and we have to learn how to protect our assets, our real estate assets. Now, where can a homeowner learn to protect their real estate asset? Basically, they can come to our real estate asset protection website. We are still working on it. There are a lot of new information coming in. Manny and I and many other, we're bringing in other professionals, tax lawyers, bankruptcy lawyers, and financial advisors to put a program together to help homeowners to protect their asset. You see, protecting asset is, first of all, our mission is to help our client to become bulletproof of foreclosures. What does this means to be bulletproof? Not to overextend. If you are not to overextend, then you basically, if you have a property is all paid for, you are bulletproof because you don't have a loan. We have to teach our clients to pay off their loans, at least on their homes, earlier than 30 years or 40 years. Also, we have to, we want to teach our client to master the knowledge when to buy and when to sell. And this is something that the only way they would know when to buy and when to sell if they know the real estate cycles, if they pay attention to the real estate cycles. And also they have to know their financial ability. You know, there is this one thing that knowing the real estate cycle, the other thing is everybody has to know where they are personally, because we have our personal cycles, you know, and might not match exactly, you know, this cycle. So we have to bring them together in harmony to be able to protect our asset. Also, we are offering homeowners free consultation. They can come in the office, and we sit down with them, and we will look at where they are, and we listen where they want to go as far as you know, in the real estate. Then also we look at look at various alternative solutions which would fit their needs. What they should do, and also we are discussing the short and long-term consequences, whatever they decide, and also help them to implement this step-by-step plan. Our goal is to help homeowners to be in touch with reality, with their reality, because when people know their reality, it makes them stronger. And I'm going to finish with this quote that I read somewhere. When we are in touch with reality, we are not weakened by anything in life. When we are in touch with reality, we are not weakened by anything in life. Thank you.